G'day everyone, Paul here from HobStar Computing Solutions, and welcome to the very first episode of Building with HobStar. Today is sort of an episode 0. It relates directly to a blog post that I did recently. There will be a link down in the description of this video if you want to go and check that out. Recently I've been trying my hand a little bit at programming, and my wife, who is a theatre nurse, came to me with a bit of a problem that she was having. They had asked her to update all of the things that they call FAD cards. A FAD card, another name for it, is a preference card, and each surgeon in their hospital has what's called a FAD card for each operation they do. And to go through manually and change each one, which was in an individual file, I thought seemed like a pretty crazy way to do it. So I thought, you know what, let me have a look and see what I can come up with. And I asked some important questions. I have those here. The first question that I asked my wife is, will one surgeon ever have more than one FAD card for one type of operation? No. So if a surgeon is doing a particular operation, they will only ever have one FAD card. That's good to know. Does each surgeon work on many different specialties? So for example, eyes, ENT, vascular? And the answer was no. They'll only ever work in one. These things are very important to work out before you start a project like this, because it can definitely shape the entire way that the project will go. You need to know these things so you can set up things properly. And finally, how many would you like to display on the computerized version of a FAD card? So for each item, for example, gloves or scalpels and things like that, sometimes only 2, sometimes they need a lot. And I do have, let's see here, an example. Thought that I put it here now. It's this one, of what one actually looks like. So this is how the old way was that they like to have them. And if we go to a print preview here, print preview, this is the kind of thing that they are expecting. The surgeon's name, the operation, the gloves, the gowns, the prep, blade, consumables, infiltration, dressings. And you know what, I learned so much about what my wife does just from doing this, so it's been fantastic. So all that's pretty simple, but doing this by hand and having inconsistencies across all the different FAD sheets, I thought was pretty kind of crazy. So my idea was, and if you view my blog post, you'll sort of see a bit of the behind the scenes stuff, was to set up a system where everything would be kept in a database like this. And we'll go into this a bit more in just a minute, but you would have the option to have these buttons at the front. And for example, you would be able to add a new FAD card, and the idea is that you would have drop downs. And I've changed these names. These are obviously not real names. That's the one I had on that example before. I'm very conscious of people's privacy and security, so I've removed all the names. And then you can choose no gloves coming up. It's interesting. That box is glitched. This is kind of the process as well you need to go through to make these things work. So for some reason that one is not showing up. We might actually investigate that in a minute. We can select the gloves from there. You can choose your prep. At the moment there's only betadine in there. You can also add one to that, and I'll show you where that gets added soon. I'm just going to call that prep B. Continue, and then that one shows up there. Blades, different sizes, and then consumables, they could have quite a few, so they've been added in here. And once again, you can click the plus button to add a new one. CONSUMABLE B, we'll call it, and then continue, and it jumps out again. And then if I come into here, it'll be on the bottom of the list at the moment. Whoops, down the bottom of the list, new things go to the bottom. Something I'm just noticing there, a little bit of visual problem there. The font is at a size, or the box is too small, where you can't quite see the bottom of the text there. So all these things are sort of more cosmetic or quality of life things. Some other really clever things are, we have this item here called a BSS, whatever on earth that is. If I try and add that in again, it says that it already exists. Lovely. So you can't actually enter in duplicates of the same thing, which I thought was really important too, in terms of keeping a good data set in the back. Let's do a couple of extra things. Just pick one from each of the categories. Now I'm actually going to leave operation blank. If I've done it right, it should actually say you can't actually leave it blank. So we're just going to do a couple of extra ones of these. I want something, at least one thing in each of the fields. Another clever thing is in notes, if you put the mouse cursor on it somewhere, hold shift and press enter to make a new line. That's a bit of a limitation of Excel. So I can put notes go here, hold down shift and press enter, and can go here. Now if I click continue, it should warn me that you must have a surgeon and an operation. So let's go continue. Beautiful. I'm glad that worked. So let's actually choose an operation for ENT. Let's see, I believe that's an ENT procedure. Obviously someone who's using this would actually know if that is or not. And then we go continue. And then it just tells you that the card name, the FAD card for person for that procedure has been created and added to the database. Beautiful. Let's go OK. And then that window closes. If we go over to our database, down the bottom, it's added in this new entry. I'm just going to zoom in here. Let's have a look what's actually in the database. So I've added in an ID, so that it adds a new ID every time you make one. That's very important for referencing things later on. And the specialty was something I was playing with before. I ended up doing a clever thing to combine them rather than having a separate one here, because that was when I thought each surgeon might do different things. So rather than just removing it, I just sort of left it there as a legacy item. So for example, this S-name person, made up first name, surname, will only ever be an ENT. They've already been created in the system. And then we have this combination field, which actually joins them together. We didn't have anything in that first gloves because something was wrong with that box. It's been done before. And then you go along and each one of those things that we entered in via drop downs is recorded here in the database. The numbers along the top there are just references I was using to work out where I was when I was doing a long list of things. I'll show you that in a minute as well. Down to the end, and the notes should be at the very end. Notes can go here. And I think I forgot to add trays in at some point. There was like only 2 trays and I needed to add more. So rather than rejigging the entire database, I just put them on the end. And it doesn't matter that they're further down, they can just go be referenced elsewhere. Right, back to the master. Let's look at the edit FAD card. I decided to make this one a different color. You choose from your list which one you want to edit. Go down to the one that I just made and go continue. And it's a different color just so visually you can see, hang on, I'm doing something different here. I'm editing an existing one. So here you can come in and you can go, you know what, I don't need that one. I want that one. And we need all of the trays for this one. Basic eyes for the ENT, probably not. And once again, there's a few little visual things that are more cosmetic, but definitely need to be fixed. And then we go continue, and it's done. Now the really important part, and the thing I also wanted to work on possibly today in this video, is the printing out of the cards, because this is very important. In my mind, it would be important to make sure that the new system matches the previous system as closely as possible, so that the end result looks something like this one. So when we go print FAD card, and I choose this from the drop down, and we go down to the bottom, that's the one, and go continue. This form looks pretty close to what they have. The thing that I've missed, and this is going to be a little bit fiddly to fix, is if I switch back over to this one, this one, the boxes around them. Now it's not a deal breaker, but it's one of those things that for me personally is important. And if we go print, I think it's set up to go to the default printer, which in my case is the PDF printer. So I was having to play around here trying to work out the boxes, and that, if I move this over to here, looks quite a bit like that. Surgeon, operation, gloves, reading left to right here, gowns, prep, bundles, blades, bowls, consumables, trays. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I don't have a date modified. That should be added. That's not too hard to add automatically. So that's the end result so far of what I've managed to come up with. So how does this all work? If you're using Excel, I'm using version 2016, you need to go to the developer tab. If you don't have the developer tab, you have to press a keyboard shortcut, which I will put up on the screen right now. And then once you're in here, you need to activate Visual Basic. I believe also if you press Alt F11 when you're in Excel, then that will also come up. It comes up as a separate window. And this is all the behind the scenes stuff that makes all that code work. Let's have a look. That's our sheets. And then we have the forms. Now the first form I created was, there's quite a few here, the data UF. Yep. So UF stands for user form. It's very important when you're creating these that you come up with a good naming convention and kind of stick with it. So this is the form that I created. You actually draw in each of these boxes from a toolbox, which is one of these up here. Design mode, no. Toolbox. There's a toolbox. So you say, for example, you bring in a label and just draw it in. I don't want that. And you can draw in things like the drop downs, the combo boxes, scroll bar, combo box, like that. And you can set that to be different things. I'm going to delete that for now. Go away. So for example, this surgeon box, if I click on it, get some information over here, and a lot of it. The only bit we really need to be concerned about is the source. I'm going to PQR source. Row source. I'm looking for S. I needed R. Row source. Dynamic list surgeons. So that's where it's actually getting the list of the surgeons when you click on it. So over back here in the Excel file, if we go to lists, this is where we actually keep all the information that is available in those drop down boxes. So at the moment we've got these 3 surgeons and their specialties. We have all the different operations, the different types of gloves, consumables. There is a blank there which could be removed, infiltration, and I set this up so also so my wife could come in here and just enter in all the different things. We shouldn't have duplicates, so should we? Beautiful. And then when we're finished, we can just go, it's been a while since I've done this, data and then sort. Option to sort, that's filter, sort A to Z. No, do not expand, continue, and then it sorts them all alphabetically. There's probably an automated way to do that, but I think that works just fine. It's mostly going to be her using it, so that's not a huge problem. If I do that sort on this one, don't expand, then it also fills out that little blank spot as well. So that's quite nice. So every time in the form, I'm going to try and explain this without making myself confusing. Every time when we're in here, grab that one, and we hit one of those little drop downs. So for example, blades 2.4, 1.1, 1.5, it's looking up a range that I've set. Let's just cancel that in here. Let me see, that one was blades. Where's blades? Blades there, 2.4, 1.1, and 15. It's probably supposed to be 1.5, but you can change that here. So every time you hit that, it looks up here to get that as a result. You can then obviously add more, and then they'll appear there as well. Here. The real magic happens once you click that continue button. Then it has to actually add things to the database. So if I double click on the continue button, this is all the stuff I had to actually work out to do to make this all work, and it looks quite crazy. A lot of it is very repetitive though. You should always start off with from a top option explicit, which says if there's anything that's not defined, it will tell you. Let's have a quick look. We define our variables. And we have a thing that checks to see if this is a new card or if it's an edit. And is this the, check which one I'm in. Yep. So this one's really clever. It creates a new one called FAD Card, which we made up here, and it combines the surgeon's name with the operation that they're doing. So that's quite handy. It puts a little hyphen in between. And then down here, I'm trying to read carefully just so I don't go too fast. This is the thing that checks when you click OK at the end, have you actually entered in a name and a combo box? If it says if either of those are empty, then you haven't entered one of them at least. This is the part that actually enters the information into the database, and this is where things get a bit crazy. So on the sheet of the DB, so let me just make this a bit smaller. So if you're in the database, the DB sheet, from the start, the offset, the target row, and then the column, and then the value, and then it adds, that one adds a reference row, and then the next one adds the surgeon, and the gloves, and so on. So for each one of those, it keeps going along and adding to it. And if we scroll down, it does it for all of them, and this is where I had to add new fields. You should always add good comments to your work, where I realized I did not put enough trays and there was one combo box for the bowls missing. And then when you click close, it saves it, it unloads the form, and gives you the message as being completed. So that's pretty darn cool, I think, anyway. Every time you add a new item, like when I showed you adding a new consumable, for example, each one of those has to have its own little box. So these ones need to be updated as well, just to look a bit better. And we can see from here, go down to row source, OP. It might actually be in the continue button, I think. If we go to continue button, then each one of those buttons has one of these. And I had to make this for every single sort of button in the FAD Manager as well. So let's have a quick look. Add consumable target row equals sheet. Makes the variable equal to count a formula. So it counts how many consumables there are already, so that it won't override the existing ones, and adds it to the next one. Take from consumable text box. So that actually takes the information you've entered in the consumable text box. That's why there's no row, because it's just setting it as a variable for now. And then it checks to see if it already exists, and if it does, it already exists, and then otherwise it will add it to the database. Oh, that's actually saying, yeah, if it doesn't, then do the next thing, which is to add it to the database. So that's a lot of it. I'm not a programmer, so I'm not the best also at explaining this. I just thought it'd be nice to have a little look in the behind the scenes of some of this stuff. I did want to check back in the master one for add card. It was the consumable. Which one was it again? It was one of these was not showing up. The first gloves. Okay, so the first gloves on the edit form. So if I go back into the back end and we check out the gloves, let's have a look down at the bottom. Row source equals dynamic list gloves. Okay, the same as this one. Equals dynamic list gloves. Let me just copy that and paste it there. Looks the same. Alright, so let's go back and try that again. That's interesting. I wonder why that's happening. We go back, and a lot of this is sort of having a go around and having a fiddle. Let's check out one of the other ones which works fine. Dynamic list prep. So I've defined each of those lists as a dynamic item, rather than having to say the row over and over again. I've defined each of them elsewhere. I'll see if I can remember how to get that up. Let me have a look. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That is different there. Dynamic list blade. So that should be the same as that one. So that one is actually wrong, but that was not the one that we're looking at. So that's interesting. For this one, row source, dynamic list gloves, with an S on the end, dynamic list gloves, so it's the same. Yep, that one works, that one does not, that one does. I think the next thing to do would be to actually just to delete that one, copy and paste, and that should be identical. Let's give that a run. Bottom one works, top one works. Yeah, well, don't know what went wrong there, but you know, that's fine. Right, that looks good. What else do I need to do still? As I mentioned before, if we go over to the print one, so come back over here, get rid of that for now. Print UI, user interface. I want to add the boxes in like we had on that other one. Not that one, that was my example. To cancel, just close that one. I want the other one. If I close the whole thing, then it will close the other one that I want probably. Oop, it's gone. That's gone too. It's not in here. That'll do. So we want boxes around these things. So the problem I found is, and now I want the toolbox back, is that if you want to make a frame like this one, if I draw this, like let's say I want, can't minimize that because I need it. If I want it around surgeon and then name, it'll be like this. But when I do that, it jumps in front. Now in a lot of other programs, you could right click on this and maybe send backwards. Right click, send backwards. Normally send to back. No, that doesn't work. So what if this is also hard to work with because I've made it all sort of transparent. Let's group those and bring those forwards. Can I then put the frame up here? No. Why not? See, this is one of the bad things, or not bad things, but things that I guess they never worked on with Visual Basic, is making it like user-friendly. What if I gotta be careful because I can't see half the things that are under there. If I grab this one and do a Control X and Control V, does that work? There's also 2 bits to this, which is making me nervous. No, that's not right. So why has this got an extra box here? Yeah, I'm not sure why it's... Well, let's just try it. Let's actually just try changing this. And if we put this up here now, make that smaller. This is going to be very fiddly. And then we can change things on that box. So let's have a look over here at the frame. Do border color, border style. Can we make it just a little bit style none, style single? Frame doesn't give me a drop down for that one. Frame 3? I don't know. Let's give this a quick spin. What I wanted to get out of it, and then give it a spin. So that looks possibly a bit better. Get the other one back up to have a look at. It's obviously covering operation, and some of the operation names are quite long, which is why I've actually left it sort of a little bit different here. And surgeon, and now that's got a weird box behind it too for some reason. That's also not shouldn't be clickable. Oh, you can actually, but you can't actually. I've set it up so you can't change it. Let's actually just try that. Let's do cancel. Come over here, print FAD card. Actually get one of the other ones, just a random one. Continue. Yeah, it looks alright, apart from everything else being wrong. So that's going to be a bit of fiddly to fix, but yeah, that's definitely an off-camera kind of thing. So that's, I think, all for episode 0 for now. I'm not sure if it's something I've forgotten to show. I'm not really going to do a full tutorial on, how do you add a button and get it to do things in this tutorial, in this video I should say. What I would like to do is, once I've done probably one more video on the FAD Card Manager, showing me getting it to where I actually want it to be, I would like to actually start this series off by making something together with you guys, so you can actually see the process right from the start. We'll be doing a little bit of blueprint work, and actually go from the drawing board to actually design something. I've got a few projects in mind, and also I'd be looking for suggestions from all you guys on something you'd like to see made or have made for you. I've had a few students who, one in particular I'm thinking of, they were given a task of having to organize and catalog and sort of quality check a whole warehouse full of things. And I gave them just some very quick ideas about, in Excel, how I would do that to make things easier, sort of starting off from a good place and making them think about, well, how would you categorize things, for example, to make it easier for them to complete. So let me know in the comments below, first of all, what you thought of this video. It's probably a bit long-winded, and also what you would like to see me make, or if you have a particular need for something, then maybe we can all make that together on the channel, and I think that would be really fun. So thanks everyone for joining in, and remember, until next time, never stop learning. Thanks. Bye.